What's going on, y'all? It's Big Facts again, coming at you with another video. On the screen here, you see the 13th Amendment. Now, the 13th Amendment was a very important amendment to African Americans here in the United States. This was the amendment that abolished slavery. Here's the 14th Amendment, another important amendment to Black people here in the United States. This amendment made all Black people naturalized citizens of the United States of America. Next, we have the 15th Amendment. The 15th Amendment gave Black men the right to vote in the United States of America. A very integral part of Black American history. This next amendment that I have here is the 16th Amendment. The 16th Amendment gave Congress the authority to levy an income tax. Now, you're probably wondering what correlation does the 16th Amendment have with the other three amendments that I mentioned? Well, I'm here to say this. With this new movement, ADOS, and their movement for reparations for Black Americans in the United States of America, I feel like the best way that they can help achieve their goal is through the 16th Amendment. Now, for those of you who don't know what ADOS is or what it stands for, ADOS stands for American Descendants of Slaves. And they've been making headway in promoting their agenda and obtaining and trying to fight for reparations for Black Americans here in the United States, especially as the elections of 2020 come up. Now, the Black American population has been subject to some of the worst treatment in this country, actually the worst treatment in this country, if you ask me. And on top of that, wealth inequality has hit their community, or has hit the Black American community, the hardest out of any other community in the United States today. My point for mentioning, the 16th Amendment is when I go on ADO's website, I take a look at their agenda, their roadmap to reparations, and they seem like they have a pretty solid plan. However, when you look at some of the polls that have been polled and asking people whether they believe in a cash payment for Black people in terms of reparations, 82% of Americans voted no. They do not want that, okay? And I, being a Black man, I also do not agree with a cash payment for Black people for reparations, because you cannot put a dollar amount on the cruel punishment, the cruel treatment, the psychological effects, as well as the hard work and the effort Black people have put into building this country. You cannot put a dollar amount on that. That is my opinion on why I do not believe for a cash payment. And also, too, financial literacy is very low within the Black community. So those two in conjunction with each other, I feel like a cash payment would just cause even more detriment to Black people rather than benefiting them. Take, for example, some of the Native groups in the reservations. They've received cash payments. Even some people in the island of Guam, the U.S. government has given them cash payments, and they have been subject to heavy drug use and alcoholism. And Black people being the largest consumers in the United States, consumerism is what will end up killing them, because they would just hand that money right back on over to the people that they claim that are oppressing them. That boogeyman, white supremacy. But back to my original point. I bring up the 16th Amendment is why. This is the reason why. I feel like ADOS needs to move into imploring Congress to pass either another amendment or pass some sort of bill to make sure that Black people, as a form of reparation, can have an income tax holiday. Now, we've seen people discuss about giving them free tuition. Vlad on Vlad TV had a recent discussion about reparations for Black people, where he suggested through his Twitter account and also on his YouTube channel that he suggested that Black people should receive, free tuition. Even Georgetown University has been working on a fund to, I guess, as a form of reparations to Black people by giving them free tuition to Georgetown. But I think better than that is to give Black people an income tax holiday. Now, many other groups, societal groups, will be in uproar and say, like, why don't they have to pay income taxes? Blah, blah, blah. There's always going to be those resentful people. But to appease everybody, in a sense, I look at it like this. I would prefer that black people, as a form of reparations, get an income tax holiday for 10 years. Now, that extra money that they have from their career, their job, or whatever it is, even their businesses that they want to open up, they get to benefit. Those small businesses or even larger businesses do not have to pay income taxes. Look at countries do this all the time. Countries like Ireland. How do they get how do they get Apple headquarters over in Ireland or other multinational corporations? They offer tax incentives. Same thing with Delaware. The state of Delaware does this. That's why a lot of businesses are incorporated in Delaware, because they do not impose taxes on those companies. They don't. Or if they do, it's very minimal. So I think the same way that businesses benefit, black people need to get in that mindset and benefit that way. Give them a 10-year income tax holiday. That money that they save from not having to pay income taxes, it's this. They can pay off any debt that they have within that 10 years, use that extra money to help push forward their business or to start up a business, pay off student loans, which I'm sure a lot of black students are suffering from, for 10 years. That 10 years with saving money so that they could put a down payment for a commercial building or a residential home, that can uplift a generation, and that will have generation-long ramifications and effects to uplift black people out of poverty. Look at the 4 asset classes. Now, for those of you who don't know what the 4 asset classes, those are stocks, bonds, real estate, and commodities. Those are the 4 asset classes, okay? It's important that people, particularly black people, get accustomed and get acquainted to what the 4 asset classes are. Now, I see here, you see a different, some other things, but the 4 asset classes are stocks, bonds, commodities, and real estate. Now, I bring you over to this section. This shows you where the top 1% in 2018 of the fourth quarter, where they have majority of their money. Now, majority of the wealthier individuals in this country compared to any other percentile group, top 1%, they have 22%. 22% of their wealth is in private business or private equities. That is important. So if black people were to save money from that income tax holiday without having to pay them income tax, they can put their money into private equities, put their money into real estate, which a lot of people have made a lot of money into, or they can teach themselves on how the stock market works and put their money into stocks and bonds. Bonds is it's a fixed income instrument, low risk. So the older black folks can put their money into that. The bond market was booming. Actually, let me even show you guys. The bond market has been booming for the past, I want to say the past year or so. Look at the bonds, iShares. Man, give me a moment. There's one in particular I want to show. Either way, the bond market has been booming, and it's very important that people of color get acquainted with this. With these low interest rates, the bond prices, basically, this is how it works. The yield is basically what the bond market is what determines the interest rate, okay? And with that said, with low interest rates, we've been seeing high cost of bonds. Many people have been putting their money into bonds, U.S. bonds. Even you look at other countries like Germany, Japan, they moved into negative rates because so many companies, so many organizations were putting their money into bonds. So look at this. 2019, from the start of 2019 onwards, the bond market has been in an upward movement. This is why you see the decline in interest rates. That is how things go. Whenever interest rates are are decreasing, you see bond prices are going up. But back to my original point on what I'm trying to promote and push forward is this idea of an income tax holiday. These are things that black people can go and put their money into. different assets, and that I guarantee you within that 10-year span, you will see the first round of Black Americans uplifting themselves into wealthier situations. Now look at where the majority of the bottom 50%, where they put their money. They lead in consumer durables. That's where a lot of Black people are in. Consumer goods that don't bring you any type of residual income, no type of long-lasting benefits. So private equity, real estate, stocks and bonds, that is where Black people need to put their money in. And the way that they could achieve that is by getting an income tax holiday. All right, an income tax holiday, not having to pay income tax for 10 years. 10 years, that is a long time. All those Black startups that couldn't get SBA loans or getting low amounts, they can work, tie their money together, partner up, and boom, they can go. Black businesses that are already established can even boom further because of the fact that they don't have to pay any taxes. Now, when I look at the states that don't pay any state taxes, now when I talk about the income tax holiday, I'm speaking about federal income taxes. Now, other states will still have them pay state taxes, but look at these states right here that I want to show you. These 9 states: Alaska, Florida, Nevada, South Dakota, Texas, Washington, Wyoming, Tennessee, and New Hampshire. Now, I want people to remember these states that I'm about to mention: Florida and Texas. All right, the states of Florida and Texas. When you look at the cities with the highest percentage of Black people, you look at the city of Detroit, Miami Gardens, all of which have the highest percentage of Black people. Those states, Florida being one of them, is a state with no income tax. All right. Then when I want to go down further over to this next tab, when I look at the states with the largest population of Black people as of 2010 from the last census, we have Florida, Texas, and Georgia in the top 5. All right. Florida, a state with no income tax. Texas, a state with no income tax. These are 2 states with about 3 million, with a population of about 3 million Black people that wouldn't have to pay federal or state income tax. Can you imagine the wealth that is going to be that's just going to be busting out, oozing out from Black people in those states? And then when you look at other states like Georgia, which have very low state taxes, it'll be benefiting them. All throughout this region, these are Republican strongholds, have very low state income taxes. So couple that with the no federal income tax for Black people. If they push that for as a form of reparations, this will definitely uplift the Black community for generations to come. Now, I want to hear what y'all have to say. Like, comment, subscribe down below. I'm out.